Hello everyone, my name is Mariella Estrada and today we will be speaking about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So first off, what is ADHD? So ADHD is a brain disorder that is often classified into three different types, which is inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity, which we will later talk more in detail about. So, this ADHD is usually classified as an ongoing pattern of either hyperactivity or inattentiveness, which interferes with the functioning or with the development of a child or of a person's mental capability. So not all students with ADHD or not all people with ADHD demonstrate the same characteristics or the degree of behavior. As I said before, there are three different types, and each one of them have their own specific different characteristics and different patterns. Also, people can experience as many different degrees as one can think of. So now going into those three different types, we will talk about the specific behaviors and characteristics of each one and their impact on the student's education. So the first one we'll be talking about is inattention. So some of the characteristics and behaviors for inattention is if a student wanders off tasks, lacks persistence, has difficulty sustaining focus, and is disorganized. This is also sometimes when a student is considered to be simply dozing off or daydreaming. So oftentimes what happens with these students is that they are unable to actually focus on the material that is being presented, so they are incapable of learning and actually absorbing the information that is being given to them. Also, since these students wander off task, they oftentimes don't complete the things that are wanted or that are expected of them in class. And also, obviously, disorganization does not allow them to reach the full potential of their educational career. The next one is hyperactivity. So some of the characteristics and behaviors that we see in hyperactivity is if a student is consistently moving, has excessive fidgeting, which may include tapping, or even just moving around, or they are continuously talking. So this also obviously includes if a student has extreme restlessness, and are consistently wearing others out with their constant activity. So oftentimes if a student is moving around or talking a lot, they are not only being a distraction for themselves, but to other students. So they are unable to hear and to actually listen to what is going on because of the fact that they're always moving. They are also oftentimes called out and punished because of the fact that they cannot simply sit still and listen to instructions. So oftentimes, unfortunately, they do get pulled out of a classroom, and obviously they cannot learn if they are not being taught or being worked with in the classroom. Impulsivity. So if a student has impulsivity, they usually make hasty actions which can have a high potential for harm, not only for themselves but for others. They also have the desire for immediate rewards, and they have an inability to receive delayed gratification. They are also socially intrusive. So these students do whatever is the first thing that comes into their mind. Oftentimes it's not the best idea, and they usually cannot just kind of think and process things through. So obviously if they're in a classroom and they do whatever the first thing is that comes into their mind, it's usually not going to be the best thing, and it can oftentimes lead to some serious situations in the classroom, which is obviously going to impair how they learn or what information they do learn. Also the fact that they are consistently wanting immediate rewards. They feel the need that they do not need to do something in school if they do not get rewarded immediately. So they feel the need to consistently be getting rewarded, which is obviously something that cannot be done in school, so they oftentimes shut off and kind of just move on. Since they are also socially intrusive, This means that they are continuously wanting to be in the center of the conversation, or they do not know how to work socially, so this obviously impairs their social skills in the classroom and can affect their educational careers. So currently there are 6.4 million students with ADHD that are being served in the U.S. school system, which is about 11% of the students aged 4 through 17 years old. So there has been an increase of approximately 15% in the last 6 years of students being diagnosed with ADHD. And here in the next little circle, we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper as to why there is this increase. So some people are tying it to the fact that students nowadays are not getting enough sun exposure, so they're not being exposed to the different vitamins and nutrients that are needed from the sun. This is mostly because of the fact that there is not enough time in the day for students to go outside. They also don't have that desire to go outside, mostly because of technological devices like iPads, computers, televisions, and so screen time is also playing a big part in this. It's also affecting their sleep patterns because of the fact that screens cause the brain to create more melatonin, which is creating or less melatonin, which is affecting the student's sleeping patterns. These all tie into the idea, not essentially that it is causing ADHD, but that it is causing students to have signs and symptoms related to ADHD, which is causing a lot of misdiagnosis, or even just confused diagnosis. Obviously, the other thing that people are thinking is that genetics is the only true thing that can be causing an increase in ADHD. There has also been a push from parents to use the magic pill, which is medication for ADHD, as we saw in the film The Medicated Child. Parents feel that medication for ADHD can solve all their problems when students are acting up, so they may say that the student is experiencing certain symptoms when they may not be, just so that they can get the magic pill, which is incredibly disturbing to think, but it could be one of the possibilities. These are all just ideas, but there is nothing really for sure. So for ADHD, the classification under the IDEA 2004, ADHD is classified as other health impairment or specific learning disabilities. This basically just says that it is a disability that is impairing the student's ability to learn and to focus because of other certain circumstances. However, because of the fact that it is classified under other health impairment, it does not give the student accessibility to an IEP if they are only diagnosed with ADHD. So some of the things that we can do in the classroom in order to help students with ADHD and just other students in general, we could make shorter tasks, which will basically allow the students to be able to be attentive for only short periods of time, instead of making them stress and pay a lot of attention and put a lot of effort into longer activities. There can also be direct instruction. As we said, students with ADHD have troubles with processing a long list of instructions, so going step by step and making sure that each student is going at a certain pace will help tremendously. This also helps so that just normal students don't get lost in instructions. Peer and group help. So not only will this allow students to work together, but it also helps if a student is falling behind. Perhaps one with ADHD, they can get help with their peers instead of just always feeling individualized and being like they're being pulled out by the teacher. Organization, this obviously helps in any classroom. to be organized, but it can also especially help students who suffer with ADHD because of the fact that they may be going through so much disorganization themselves. Having an environment and a classroom that is organized can really help them feel a little bit more comfortable and help them so that they can figure out what they need to work on or what they even need help with. So paced work, this also is a really good idea. So basically allowing enough time for students to work and to do the things that they have to do, the tasks ahead of them. This also allows students so that they do not feel as though they're being rushed to complete an assignment. So making sure that you tell them ahead of time that it is almost going to be done, or telling them to find a certain stopping point, so that they don't feel anxious and so that they don't get over stressed about a certain situation or about not being able to finish an assignment. Visual cues can be tied especially into the classroom expectations and procedures. So having a visual of what is going on in the classroom, what is expected of the students, that way students can always reference that and they know that that is always there for if they need it to kind of bounce back and forth off of. Breaks are also important so that these students, if they do need to move around, or if they need to get up, or if they just need to take a mental break, they can. So allowing breaks for students to kind of move around and just get up and kind of refresh themselves. This will also avoid for students to be daydreaming, so kind of having something that is always stimulating them. Tactile materials, this can be anything from differentiated seating, so you can have yoga balls for students who do have hyperactivity. They can be bouncing on a yoga ball instead of just sitting in a chair. If you have a student who works better standing up, they can stand up. Tactile materials can also be fidget spinners or fidget cubes for students who need something to be playing with or moving so that they can focus more on the material being presented. Sorry, skipped through my works cited. So there are my works cited for this assignment. Thank you very much.